Finger Puppet Management TV Show by Anthony, Miranda, Courtney, and Stephanie. Meet the Incredibulls team. Miranda is in charge of writing and illustration, Courtney is in charge of writing, Anthony is in charge of editing and filming, and Stephanie is in charge of writing and presentation. Every episode will start out with a problem that deals with management. Throughout the episodes, the characters will resolve their problems through management concepts learned from our Principles of Management class. Our target audience is the general workforce between ages 21 to 40. The setting is a mid-scale restaurant located in a small community. The storyline is the hardworking conditions and abuse by a manager to two minors in his attempt to cut costs. In this storyline, we can see ethical decision-making problems as well as a lack of social responsibility from the restaurant to its community. In this story, Michael deals with the difficult decision to let the owner know what Leonard is doing or to just stay quiet since the boys need the job. The characters of this management TV show were designed to display the different personalities a future manager encounters to, and also the different problems he or she could have on a daily basis, and how to properly solve them for the benefit of the organization. Leonard is the manager. Leonard is very bossy, he's controlling, loud, and lies about most of things to get his way. He does not follow the law, and he's very one-sided, hypocritical, and unreliable. Leslie is the owner of El Bistro. She's very friendly, negligent, smart, middle-aged, and only comes into work when needed. Michael is a server. He's talkative and respectful, very hardworking, kind, and is the strongest server and strategic. All of the employees go to Michael when they are having problems. Kim is also another really good server. She's knowledgeable and knows all about the menu. She's kind and a very strong server. She's straightforward, reliable, focused, and a leader. Francisco is a busser. He's diligent, polite, works very hard, shy, and is very quick at bussing tables and helping the other servers. Jason is a food runner. He's very conversational, does what he is told, energetic, experienced, friendly, and reliable. El Bistro is a restaurant that serves European food influenced by the Caribbean cuisine. El Bistro is located in a small community. Episode 1 is about social responsibility and managerial ethics. Episode 1 starts out with Leslie introducing the new manager of El Bistro to all of the employees. Leslie hires a man named Leonard. Leonard says he is an experienced manager, but the other employees do not believe him. Leonard hires a busser named Francisco and a runner named Jason, who are both minors. Right when Leonard starts to work, he bosses everyone around and changes everything from side work to serving a table. When Michael, the head server, tries to tell Leonard that some things he is changing do not make sense, Leonard screams and yells at Michael and tells him to speak to him or he will lose his job. Leonard has low interpersonal skills. He shows too empathy for the employees and does not have technical skills. He does not know how to use a computer program that El Bistro has, even after he is shown 5 times how to use it. The point of the sale use has separate buttons for lunch and dinner service, and in order for the kitchen to receive the ticket, the employee must hit send. There are also separate buttons for the appetizers, salads, desserts, entrees, small entrees, and beverages. In the episode, it shows Leonard struggling when sending the food to the kitchen and screaming at the computer. Also in this episode, Leonard learns how to manage a restaurant by planning, controlling, directing, and organizing. He begins to make plans about changing the menu and starts control of the dining room and kitchen by explaining to the employees what he expects from them. Leonard directs the employees by explaining to the servers on how he wants them to serve their tables, and he begins to organize the restaurant by having Michael and Kim count the entire inventory and has them make requisition sheets every morning and night for the things that they need. Episode 2 is about organizational structure. This episode starts out with Jason, the food runner, telling Kim, the server, how to set the table, serve the food, and talk to customers. Jason tells Kim that she needs to hurry and get her food when he brings it out. Jason's position is lower than Kim's position, and he still tells her what to do all the time. Kim tells Michael, the head server, that Jason is being bossy and always telling her how to do her job. Michael then goes to Leonard about the situation, and Leonard does not seem to care. After Leonard is ignoring the whole situation, Kim finally decides to go to Leslie, the owner. Kim tells Leslie that Jason has been telling her how to do her job even though he does not have the same experience as Kim. She tells Leslie that if she does not talk to Jason about the way he is treating her, that she will start to look for a new job. After about a week, Leslie finally comes into the restaurant and talks to Jason about his treating Kim and how it is wrong. Right before his shift was ending on a Friday night, Jason told Kim that he was very sorry and that he will stop telling her what to do. After that, Leslie gave Jason a hug and said it was okay. Then a day after this incident, Leonard left Michael make the schedule. Even though Michael is the head server, it is the manager's duty to make the schedule. When Michael was making the schedule, he made it so that everyone else worked the whole weekend and he had it off. Jason, Francisco, and Kim were very upset that Michael made the schedule and gave himself the whole weekend off and not anyone else, so they all got together and told Leonard that it is not fair that Michael is making the schedule. After that, Leonard said he was sorry and no longer let Michael make the schedule. Episode 3 is about groups and teams. In this episode, Leonard comes into El Bistro and is disgusted with how unorganized and dirty the restaurant is from the night before. Leonard sees food and crumbs all over the chairs, tables, and floors. The tables are not set properly and the back is a mess. Someone left soup in the dressing out, so they no longer could be served. When Michael, Kim, Jason, and Francisco get to work, Leonard is livid. After Leonard yelled at the employees, Kim told Leonard that she thought Michael was the closing server and Michael thought Kim was the closing server. After this miscommunication, Leonard decided that he would group them into teams. Each night, 2 people would close the dining room. He grouped Francisco and Kim and Michael and Jason. They would switch on and off every night with closing the dining room. Leonard also made opening and closing side worksheets so each employee knows what they have to do when they get to work and before they leave work. On the first night of opening and closing the restaurant in teams, Francisco and Kim tell Leonard that it is so much easier and faster to close work together as a team and that they are both very happy with it. Episode 4 is about organizational change and development. Episode 4 begins with a staff meeting that included Leonard, Michael, Kim, and Francisco. The meeting was about replacing some of the outdated equipment in the restaurant. The store's debt card machine had not been working properly for 4 months, causing them to have only accept cash. This caused them to lose several customers who used to eat at El Bistro on a weekly basis. Kim's argument for the machine was that they should replace it with one that also accepts credit cards to expand their customer bank. Michael said it would be easier on the servers if they got a new machine because some customers were giving them a hard time for not accepting their debt card after they had eaten. Leonard's argument against getting a new debt card machine was that the store couldn't afford it and they didn't need it. Francisco remained quiet. Once Leslie joined the meeting, she listened to both arguments. She agreed with Kim and Michael that in order for El Bistro to be a successful business, they needed to change. Leslie noticed that the customers in her community were starting to use their debit cards more often. They needed to fix the machine. But she also agreed with Leonard that the business could not afford the new debt machine. She then asked everyone to come up with one solution to their problem. Kim said that they could have a raffle to raise the money. Michael suggested that they could create a food challenge to raise the money, and Leonard threw a temper tantrum and stormed out of the room. Leslie really liked Michael's idea. Francisco continued to remain quiet. She then asked her employees to come up with a food challenge that the restaurant could have. They came up with a 4-pound spicy Caribbean sweet potato soup with shrimp. They have to eat the whole thing within 20 minutes. It costs $50 to try the challenge, and if they succeed, they will get $150. Everyone liked this idea very much. Of course, Leonard had his doubts, but after 4 weeks of having the challenge, 20 people had already signed up to try the soup, and only one had been successful in finishing it. They made $850 minus the cost of making the soup. The new machine only cost them $130, so they had enough left over to update some of their outdated kitchen equipment. After seeing the challenge be successful, Leonard finally came around and apologized for his actions during the meeting. Episode 5 is about individual and group decision making. Leslie hires a new employee named Jason. Leslie used the classical decision making model while making the decision. There are 7 steps to the classical decision making model. The first step, Leslie had to decide that whether hiring Jason as a runner would present opportunities for the business or problems. After interviewing Jason and deciding that he might present her with opportunities based on the fact that he is friendly and conversational experience, she then has to develop specific criteria and objectives for Jason. She needed a runner for the restaurant that would be reliable, energetic, and friendly. Previously, Leslie did not have a runner for the restaurant, and the servers brought food to the customers. The work of the food runner helps free up the wait person so he or she can focus more on certain aspects of customer service. This could include discussing details of the menu, taking orders, and checking back with patrons to be sure their meals were enjoyable. A well-trained runner may also perform a little of this work, especially if a delivered order is not correct. Step 3 involves generating alternatives or ways to make your objectives and criteria be successful. In order to make the restaurant more efficient, Leslie has chosen to hire Jason as a runner in order to free up Kim and Michael to focus more on their customers. Step 4 involves Leslie analyzing her alternatives. Step 5 involves Leslie selecting the alternatives that work the best, which in the restaurant situation, hiring Jason was the best choice. Step 6 is implementing the decision. Leslie has to enforce her decision to have Jason as a runner and get Kim and Michael to go along with it. The last step in the classical decision-making model will be to monitor and evaluate Jason's results. Jason showed to be hardworking, reliable, friendly worker. He successfully freed up more time for Kim and Michael to focus on customer service. She was happy with her decision to hire Jason. Episode 6 is about leadership. It starts off with Leonard facing leadership problem. One day, Leslie sees how Leonard is acting out in the restaurant and decides to do a leadership activity after work. She sets up a maze using garbage cans, rope, brooms, garbage bags, and gathers the crew, Kim, Michael, Jason, and Francisco outside. She then asks them to tie washcloths around their eyes. She turns to Leonard and tells him that his job to lead his crew through the maze. The trick is that the crew will be joined together by a rope with about 3 feet of space from one crew member to the next. You'll have to tell one member at a time to move in order for them to make it through the maze without touching anything. If they touch something, then they will have to start all over again. Leonard thought that this would be a piece of cake. He quickly found out that it was harder than it sounded. It took him and the crew 3 tries to finally make it through the maze. Episode 7 is about control. The crew of El Bistro learns about control. Leslie sees that Leonard is having a problem with drawing the line between having too much control and having too little control. In Leonard's case, he typically expresses too much control and causes resentment from the crew members and motivation. Leslie sat down with Leonard and discussed the issue with him. She told him that exercising control involves regulating activities and behaviors within the business or adjusting or conforming to specifications or objectives. He told him that he needs to establish standards, measure performance of high crew, compare performance against standards, and evaluate results and take action if necessary. The end.